Feisty, fearless, and fair. She's an Emmy-winning journalist from the White House to war zones, telling all sides of the story. This is the Rita Cosby Show.
Lovely Rita, meet a maid. Nothing can come between us. When it gets dark, I tow your heart away.
Breaking news.
And tonight on the Rita Cosby Show, the chorus is intensifying. Big breaking news tonight. More Democrats calling for President Joe Biden to leave the race. Boy, have the last 48 hours or so been a whirlwind. Ever since the debate, and then starting early this week, we have seen an increased amount of Democrats, current and former active duty representatives, those in Congress and those who have left Congress, saying that they would like President Joe Biden to leave the 2024 race. Also, just a little bit ago tonight, Democratic governors meeting there at the White House and coming out, on the other hand, saying that they still support President Joe Biden, that they had a good meeting with him, a good talk just to see how he was doing. Yeah, right. They went to see, is he capable enough, or can they pull this off with the American public? What are your thoughts, guys? Because, boy, this is going to be one incredible July 4th holiday. Who knows what the future of the presidency is going to look like tomorrow or on Friday? It seems like every day the choir of those who are suggesting that Joe Biden leave office and Joe Biden drop out of the race, well, the calls are intensifying. Some big money donors are also coming out in the last few hours saying that it is time for him to pass the torch and that he should not run in 2024. And if you look at some of the new poll numbers, they are bearing it out too. There's a brand new poll that shows now Joe Biden, where it was pretty close, almost neck and neck in this poll. In this particular poll, it is showing 43% are backing Joe Biden. 48% are backing President Trump. Trump is clearly going up and Joe Biden is clearly going down since the polls and since the big debate. The big question is, how far down will Joe Biden go? And who is talking to him privately? Because there is a New York Times report today that to me is very telling. Also, CNN essentially saying the same thing, that Biden has told allies that he is weighing whether to continue in the race. This is enormous news. The presidency on the balance tonight. It is literally in a holding pattern at this moment. And you could see that he is trying desperately to plug the holes, meeting, as I mentioned, with Democratic governors, also holding a call earlier today with Democratic leaders, meeting with some of them as well. Hakeem Jeffries, Nancy Pelosi, Chuck Schumer, a whole bunch of them that are very, very worried. And also, he is supposed to do an interview with George Stephanopoulos, who again used to work, of course, with the Clintons. So that's not exactly the place that you should go to if you're trying to restore faith with the American public. Joe Biden tonight, if you really think that you can handle it, let's have you get out there and do a news conference. What he should do is do a 2 or 3 hour news conference like what President Trump did almost every single day before the press, and have them put him right there. Everybody gets asked questions. No scripted Joe Biden, no teleprompter Joe Biden. Let's see if you can handle it. Because if you can't handle that, which clearly it doesn't look like he can, he should no longer be the president of the United States. What, you're going to keep him in office for the next 6 or so months and years beyond that potentially if you're going to reelect him? I mean, this is crazy. We can't even get the audio recording from Robert Hur's interview with Joe Biden, where he said, he's an elderly, feeble well-meaning old man. We can't get that because guess what? We know how bad it sounds. You saw the transcript. It's probably a lot worse than that. And if you take a look at what he performed at that debate, we still can't get a story straight. Karine Jean-Pierre is like spinning like there's no tomorrow because now Joe Biden's come out and said, oh, it was jet lag. And he thought it was funny to tell donors that he was so tired, he almost fell asleep on the stage. That doesn't reassure me that the presidency is in secure hands. That says to me we have somebody who's even more dismal than I even thought at the debate, that he's even worse off if he couldn't stay awake. That's one. And then we heard today from Karine Jean-Pierre saying, oh, I'm sorry, I left out the jet lag. He had a little cold. Oh, that's right. It was cold. Let me think. Oh, yeah, it was jet lag. Oh, no, he's cognitively fine. No problem. Let's move on. Thank goodness the press did not move on. The press is hammering Karine Jean-Pierre in the White House. And guess what? President Biden, don't hide behind Karine Jean-Pierre. Don't hide behind all these people at the White House. Come out and act like the president of the United States. If you want to reassure not just Americans, but people around the world that you actually have what it takes after that dismal debate and after what we have seen now for months upon months upon months, you should come out and say, no ground rules. I am going to answer every single question and I'll be here as long as it takes. Maybe it takes 4 hours. I'm happy to do it. As opposed to doing an edited interview that won't be done live, of course, with George Stephanopoulos, who's a friend of the Clintons and the Bidens. Does that reassure anybody? That is micromanaging. I don't know what's worse, that debate or what they have done since the debate by micromanaging every time he has come out. Every time he's come out since the debate, it's been like 3-4 minutes. He's reading on prompter and then he goes back into his little shell. And the fact he's not even doing a free-for-all news conference, won't even come out. I was saying maybe, boy, it would have made a statement today if he came out when Karine Jean-Pierre was doing her White House press briefing. He should have marched out and said, I'm here. What questions you have? He didn't do that. Not only does that show to me he's afraid, it shows to me that he is clearly physically and mentally in trouble. Also tonight, major donor. He is one of the co-founders of Netflix. He's one of the biggest donors in the Democratic Party. He is now calling on President Biden to quit the race. So Democrats are starting the chorus. Also, mega donors, the big money people, are calling for him to jump out of the race. So the tea leaves are all over the place. It is clear to me that his days are numbered. I don't think he can recover. And I think he's only going to get a lot worse, sadly, physically. And that saddens me for the country. 1-800-848-9222. Everybody, 1-800-848-9222. Listen to Karine Jean-Pierre being asked if Biden is considering dropping out of the race. And here's her going back and forth with reporters today.
Is President Biden considering stepping down?
Absolutely not. And you heard, I believe, directly from the campaign as well.
Given the groundswell of concern from fellow Democrats, from donors, from supporters, doesn't he owe it to the American public to reflect on whether he should step down?
I mean, look, very much into Sung-Min's question and my answer to her question, where he had an opportunity to talk to supporters. He's done it a couple times at this point and laid out what happened on that night. Talked about how he understands, and it was not his best night. He understands that it is fair for people to ask that question. But we cannot forget his record and what he's been able to do. We cannot forget how he's been able to deliver for the American people for almost 4 years. That matters too. And he has the most historic record administration, the most in modern politics, and that should matter. And he wants to continue to do that work. And, you know, a lot of what's on his agenda is very much popular with majority of the American people, whether it's continuing to build a strong economic policies. He's done that. Creating new jobs. He's done that. 15 million jobs. He wants to work on that and continue to do that. And so he wants to continue to deliver, expanding health care. All of these things he believes is important. The majority of Americans believe it's important. And his record, he wants to make sure that people do not forget about the record that he's been able to lay on behalf of the American people.
Don't worry, we won't forget, because the record is abysmal. The record is open borders. The record is high inflation. The record is a lot of new wars. The record is emboldening Iran. I wouldn't be going around bragging about your record. And he certainly now cannot brag about his mental state. The reporters are smelling blood. And in the press room, they are hammering Karine Jean-Pierre. As people are talking tonight about a name we hadn't heard in a while, Kamala Harris. Remember her, the borders are. Looks like they are teeing her up for a potential succession. And the only person who's probably less popular in this country than Joe Biden is Kamala Harris. 1-800-848-9222. 1-800-848-9222. Let's go to Al, line 1. Al, your thoughts about this moment. It is a quite incredible moment in American history. Your thoughts?
Yes, Rita, thanks for taking my call. You know, if recent history shows when there's a political catastrophic event, it's very hard to continue. We saw that in 72 with Thomas Eagleton when he was on the ticket with McGovern. McGovern initially said he would support him 1,000%, but then he dropped him from the ticket.
What about LBJ?
Exactly. When Eugene McCarthy got 40%, in New Hampshire, LBJ knew it was time to go. Plus, he had heart problems. His health was deteriorating. And then also in 87, when we saw Gary Hart, who was philandering, monkey business
with Donna Rice. Yep.
Yes, he wanted to continue, but, the writing was on the wall. He couldn't continue. So I think this is going to happen to Joe Biden, as you agree.
Yeah, I think the writing is on the wall now. Now, you could tell Biden is trying to salvage it. There are reports tonight that Biden and the Democratic governors, we're by you, even though, afterwards they're like, boy, oh boy, he looked bad. And you could tell they're trying to. His idea is, okay, I do this thing with Stephanopoulos. It'll be edited. It'll be nicey. And then they claim that he's going to do some form of a news conference next week. That will be interesting. What is it going to be between 10 a.m. and 4 p.m.? So far, nothing I've heard. And the fact that he didn't come out within minutes. Can you imagine, Al, if this had been against President Trump? Think about the response. And somebody said, President Trump doesn't seem like he's with it. He should drop out. President Trump would come out the next day and say, I'm here. I got all day for reporters' questions. Who wants to start? Joe Biden, it would have been brilliant. If Joe Biden really had his mental faculties together, and I truly mean had he had his marbles straight, he would have come out today at the White House briefing, surprised the press, and said, I'm here. What questions do you guys have? And boy, it would have spun the news. It would have impressed everybody. And it would have taken everybody by surprise. It would have had that, oh, wow, look at him. Oh, wow. Well, we just saw him. Maybe he isn't so bad. The fact that he hasn't done that, Al, actually gets me even more and more concerned, because any White House worth its grain of salt and any president, any person would have done that. And he hasn't done that. He's stayed even more MIA than usual, which says to me he's going downhill mentally fast. And they know it. And they're just trying to do damage control at this moment. The question is, now that the press has turned and now that you're hearing big money donors, and when you see some of these new polls that are coming out post-debate, they are terrible for Biden because American public sees who he is now. So I think his days are numbered, and they're numbered fast. Your thoughts, Al?
I agree. And like you touched on, the big money people, like the Netflix co-owner at one time, who is worth millions upon millions.
Yeah, he's one of the biggest donors.
Yeah. So once he comes out, it's going to be like a domino effect. They're all going to want to see him go.
Yeah, I agree, Al. Thank you very much. Nobody's going to say, hey, I'm going to give a couple $1 million to someone who's probably leaving in a few days or should be leaving in a few days. 1-800-848-9222. We'll continue your calls, everybody, after the break. You're listening to The Rita Cosby Show.
The Rita Cosby Show. It's the Rita Cosby Show. Breaking news.
And tonight on the Rita Cosby Show, another poll coming out that is damning for President Joe Biden and the Democratic Party. The New York Times Siena College poll is showing now that President Trump is leading President Biden with 49% to Joe Biden's loss there. I should say that is Trump's 49%, rather, going to Biden's 43%. So again, Trump 49, Biden 43 among likely voters. And what this is the largest lead that President Trump has had at a Siena poll, New York Times poll, since 2015, since when he first ran for president. Of course, he won, as we know, in 2016. This is an enormous bounce because before this, about a week prior, Joe Biden was behind 3 percentage points. Now he is behind 6 points. So that lead has intensified for President Trump, and that is disastrous for Joe Biden. Let's go to Jacqueline. Jacqueline, where is this headed? I think his days are numbered. I think we're going to hear about it very soon. Your thoughts?
Rita, I'm going to go out on a limb here, and I could very well be mistaken, but I think they're going to make an announcement this Friday, 4:45, just like all the news stories that they want to squash and postpone and not address and not deal with. They have all day tomorrow to do their behind-the-scenes and behind-closed-doors negotiations. They supposedly have all of these meetings set up with these different governors and different elected officials throughout the country, and they're not going to say anything else after that. They have the entire weekend to then figure out who they're going to replace him with.
Yeah, you know what? I actually don't rule that out, Jacqueline. Isn't that stunning, this moment in history? And you're right. They may take advantage of the fact that it's July 4th weekend. People are barbecuing. They're busy. Maybe then it kind of like tapers down a little bit. So he hopes it gets buried a little bit. It very well may happen.
Rita Cosby is on. The Rita Cosby Show presents Back the Blue.
And this Back the Blue segment is sponsored by GoyaCares.com because you are a precious gift from God. Be sure to check out GoyaCares.com. They do so much to combat human trafficking and so many other important missions. And this powerful story coming from Fresno, California, where a beloved retired member of the Fresno County Sheriff's Canine Unit sadly has died. Arco passed away peacefully earlier this week. Arco is a Belgian Malinois. He passed away peacefully at his home where he was living out of his retirement. He was 10 and a half years old. He was brought to the United States at 3 years old and was selected by his handler, Deputy Andrew Bright, to become a very integral part of the Fresno Sheriff's Canine Unit. He worked as an assignment in patrol, get this, from 2016 to 2022, and then he retired. And you could tell that he was so much a member of the family, the law enforcement family. They put out a statement, the Fresno Sheriff's Department, saying, quote, Arco is a very friendly dog who loved to work and to be around his friends. He successfully assisted our deputies as well as specialty teams and other agencies. Arco did a phenomenal job at protecting his handler and his law enforcement family for many years, and he helped to locate many violent criminals, only needing some pets and praise in return. Beautiful story. And obviously, we are so grateful for our furry friends who do so much to help law enforcement. And I have seen those dogs in action. I'm telling you, they do incredible work, brave work, and protect our men and women in law enforcement so much because they send the dogs in and suddenly the bad guys beg for mercy. So bravo to all of our great furry friends and their important role in keeping all of us safe. And how sad about little beautiful Arco, who obviously had an extraordinary, extraordinary life. Well, we are talking about Joe Biden because there is big news tonight. Jacqueline, who called just a little bit ago, Jacqueline, I think you're spot on. I think there is a very good chance that Joe Biden could announce, maybe even in a matter of days, that he is passing the mantle on, or maybe he's going to continue running, at least stay, I should say, in the White House up until the election. And then after that, he may say, well, I'm going to pass the torch, but I think he has to signal immediately, because if they are going to move the delegates, the easiest way to do it is it goes to Kamala Harris, who's the vice president. And the easiest thing to move donor money goes also to Kamala Harris. Otherwise, it goes to conventions. It goes to all these issues. The delegates would have to agree to support her. But Joe Biden could say, listen, I would really like, it's time to pass the torch. And again, if you think that Joe Biden is bad, take a look at Kamala Harris. Boy, is the country and the world in trouble if suddenly we see Kamala Harris front and center. But she looks like the Cheshire Cat with her big old grin the last few days. And no doubt, President Biden is worried. There are multiple reports tonight that there is panic in the White House. And there's been this series of emergency calls, some with the president, some without the president, trying to reassure people to stay in the race. And that he's saying, I need to be here. I'm going to stay in. I just had a bad night. Yeah, I was tired, jet lag. And the whole jet lag thing doesn't make any sense to me. I mean, he was gone for a while, and people do sometimes have a tough time with travel, especially when it's foreign travel and the time difference and physically. But especially if he's having some issues, it could certainly be enhanced by travel. There's no doubt about it. You know, and listen, I feel sorry for him. But guess what? I care about this country. So listen today, Karine Jean-Pierre. She is being asked by reporters. This just epitomized sort of where people are at right now. Because, you know, when the liberal press corps is now hammering you, guess what? You've lost it, Joe Biden. So today, all the reporters were hammering Karine Jean-Pierre in the briefing. And this is one of the series of exchanges. Listen to this swipe. Take a listen to this one.
We would invite the president to come here and tell us that directly.
Noted, Kelly.
But
he's awake.
That's inappropriate.
As you heard from your colleague, the president of the WHCA, that's inappropriate. Thank you, Kelly.
That's inappropriate if he's awake. But those are the kind of jokes that are going around at the White House and around the kitchen table everywhere, because people are saying this is so obvious. And you could tell he has lost the media. The media is slamming Karine Jean-Pierre. And I've sat in those press conferences. I know what that's like. And it's not even a division now. It's like every question today is he leaving? Is he dropping out? Is he doing this? And they were also not buying Karine Jean-Pierre's excuse that, he just had a little cold. And then she's like, you've all had a little cold. You got to relate to that. It's like, I'm sorry. First of all, I've never had a cold where I looked like I was about to pass out during a debate where suddenly 50 million people were watching. Somehow I think I'd step up. The other thing is also, there was no indication there was any medicine. So she can't say it was like cold medicine that made him suddenly groggy, that he didn't interact well with. You know, that happens if people get medicine or whatever. No. We're supposed to buy that. One team says it's cold. The other team says it's jet lag. Who knows what it really is? I don't think they're telling us the truth. Do you? Listen to this exchange with Karine Jean-Pierre today, and boy, was she defensive about the old cold excuse.
Democrats
We
who are
all
saying
do
they want
that.
to see him.
But
It speaks to that.
But we didn't share that information ahead of time. You all asked what was going on, and then we shared that information. We didn't use that before the debate. You all asked, hey, is he under the weather? And we confirmed that he was under the weather.
You know, what's interesting is it's actually incorrect, because it wasn't until after the debate that everybody goes, God, what the heck is going on with Joe Biden? That she then suddenly said, oh, he has a cold. Because it was so bad, they had to come up with some excuse. Don't you think if he really was having a cold, we would hear, oh, the president isn't feeling well, but he's still coming tonight because he wants to be there for the American people? We didn't hear that. They used it as excuses afterwards, and that speaks volume, and they can't even keep their excuses straight. Let's go to Judy in New Jersey. Judy, where is this headed? This new damning poll tonight. Again, New York Times Siena poll has 6 points difference, with Trump ahead 49 and Biden at 43. That's enormous. The lead is widening and Trump is soaring. Go ahead, Judy.
Oh, Rita, what's happening to our country?
Our country's a mess. I agree.
Rita, here's why I'm calling. Here's my concern. I would love to see Trump in again. However, if we better pray that Biden runs again, and here's my feeling. Trump can easily beat him, in my opinion. However, if they choose another candidate to run against Trump, because Trump is so disliked, I think they will vote for anybody but Trump.
What about Kamala, Judy?
Oh, God in heaven. Oh, please.
That's who, by the way, if I had to bet tonight, I would bet that the messaging seems to be, if it's not Joe Biden, we got to get behind Kamala. Younger African-American woman. There's a lot of African-American women who are important votes for the Democrats, even if she's horrible. I think they're in a pinch. They would like to go outside Kamala, but I think they're afraid to go against her. Your thoughts?
They're going from the frying pan into the fire. I can be a better president than Kamala Harris.
I agree. By the way, Judy, by far, having talked to you now, 1,000%, you'd make a much better president.
Okay, I'm running.
You're running. You're running. I'll be your VP. Now,
Rita, I think you're great, and I'm so concerned about where anything is going. I'm much older than you are, and thank goodness I had some very good years growing up in what I would call a normal country. This is, I don't even have words for it.
It is insane. And Judy, I've been covering politics a long time. I've never imagined that we'd be heading into like a summer of complete disarray. I mean, you think about it. We don't know if President Biden's going to be on the ticket. We don't know if he's going to be in the White House X months from now. Boy, is it going to be an interesting Democratic convention. The debate was dismal. It was worse than I think, people expected, as transparent and blatant as it clearly was. And and we've got a time of such uncertainty. What I worry about, Judy, is there are so many issues going on in the world. And I'm talking about what's going on with Israel and Hamas and Iran and all these new terror threats that are happening with our wide open border, a lot of them because of Joe Biden's policies. And to think that we have a president who is not running the show. There's no way you can tell me the guy that we saw at the debate and the guy who's hiding from the press now, because that's clearly what he's doing. That guy is not fit for office. If he's not fit to do an interview, then he's not fit for office. If he's not fit to do a live news conference right now, he is not fit to be the commander in chief. And at a time where there are such huge, enormous terrorist threats, many of them within our country, many of them without our country, outside the boundaries of our country. And that's what's scary, Judy. That's what also keeps me up at night. If I'm a bad guy, I sadly would take advantage of this time, and that breaks my heart. But there are probably a lot of bad actors that are thinking, boy, what can we do? Because we have a pushover in the White House. And that really saddens me. Judy, thank you. You are terrific. And I'll be your vice president anytime. Thank you very much, my dear. Let's go to Norm, line 4.
Hi, Rita. I've really come to this point. He's not leaving. To the Dems, trying to demoralize us with winning with a mentally impaired candidate is more important than one who is mentally sound. Saying this, I feel this is a psyops game the Dems are playing. They can't make him leave. They won with him in 2020, and they're not going to change anything.
See, I think you're wrong, and I'll tell you why, Norm. I think they are finding it a lot more difficult than they had anticipated. Okay. I think they would love to have him leave, but from what, reading the tea leaves and knowing Joe Biden, I've interviewed Joe Biden. I know Joe Biden. I think he doesn't want to leave. He's known as a very stubborn guy. He clearly has mentally, deficient capacities. That's a nice way to say it. But often those are the last ones to know it. And it seems like Jill Biden is pushing him. The reports tonight are Jill Biden's telling him to stay in the race. So Jill Biden saying, you can do it, Joe, you can do it. And then there's Hunter that's around, of all people, his advisor hanging out with him. He's encouraging him to stay in the race because certainly Hunter wants him there, especially while he's going on all these court cases. So there's a lot of things going on. And I think they would love to have him leave because he is not just killing the presidential ticket. There are reports tonight that Democrats down ballot are really worried because they're worried they're going to not be able to get the House. They want to get the House. They're dreaming of keeping the Senate. And they'd, of course, like to keep the White House. And a lot of these other candidates are saying, oh, my God, everyone's asking me, that's the guy at the top of your ticket? They think it's hurting their races, too. And when people see the polls that I just talked about and see that it's hurting their races and that they're being asked about it, that's not good. And big money people pulling out, I will really be surprised if he remains in office. But you think, are 100% convinced he's going to stay and not maybe even being replaced by Kamala of all people, Norm?
I bet you a bottle of champagne, Rita.
All right. I might even bet you a good bottle of champagne that he's leaving.
Oh, yeah.
That's how proud I am of that decision. Norm, thank you very much. You're terrific, my friend, and have a great 4th of July. We'll see what kind of champagne we're drinking. The high dollar one or the one. Well, Norm's a very sophisticated guy. I bet you he's doing a high dollar one there, too. 1-800-848-9222. 1-800-848-9222. And we'll take your calls when we come back.
It's the Rita Cosby Show. This is the Rita Cosby Show.
So, do you think, as Norm just said, that Biden is staying in? Or do you believe his days are numbered in the White House? I firmly believe if you look at the tea leaves and barring a medical miracle, I do not believe he's running or he's going to drop out, hoping he wins and then passes the torch. There are so many different scenarios, but I think they are trying to figure it out very, very, very quickly because of the Democratic convention that's taking place in August, donors now dropping out, the American public tuning out. All of this is an enormous problem for Joe Biden and the Democratic Party. 1-800-848-9222. 1-800-848-9222. Let's go to Stan. Stan, what do you think is ahead for Joe Biden?
Another calm day in this great country,
Yeah, isn't it? And by the way, it is amazing, Stan, isn't it? I mean, it really is stunning what we're dealing with.
This is This is if you're a student of politics, you're never going to have anything like this in your life. So you might as well take notes now. Anyway,
that's for sure.
I think you will leave ABC faster than he'll leave the presidency. He's not going nowhere.
Okay. So wait.
Let
me just ask you a question. Because I love ABC, all right, which is our flagship station.
So he's not going anywhere.
You know what? No. I don't know, Stan. You know what, Stan? I thought at first afterwards, but the response since the debate has been catastrophic. I think if he doesn't pull
out
no, actually incorrect, Stan. Did you listen to the press conference?
Democrats. Yeah, they're panicking.
Did you listen to the press conference today with Karine Jean-Pierre? Every single reporter was asking, is he mentally incompetent one way or another? Saying, we think you're lying to us. You're not transparent. You're making up excuses. How bad is he really? Because we saw a shell of a man out there in the debates, and we think you need to be straight with the American public. That was the message. Stan, I have sat in that room. That was a stunning moment, just as you said.
You're not in the room now.
But guess what? We're watching it now. I don't need to be in the room because I'm here with you. And thank goodness, by the way, thank goodness they're doing their job. So I don't need to be in the room asking the questions. You're right, Stan. Go ahead.
Family meeting on the weekend. All of them were there. This was the meeting. The wife, the kid, everybody. And you can bet. Let's be honest. Let's be fair. You can bet they put it to him. Dad, do you think you got it? I mean, come on. Even some of them would be the adversary to some extent and say, hey, there's a problem here. Blah, blah, blah. I mean, that question had to be asked whether you believe it or not. I would think some of them said, hey.
Not as key people.
No, I'm going to do it.
Stan,
I'm not giving it up.
Let me ask you a question. Do you think Jill Biden and Hunter Biden, who apparently have been his biggest advocates to stay in the race, do you think either of them said, don't you think maybe you should take it easy and go on a golf course for the rest of your life? Because that was more than a cold, Dad, more than a cold, my husband. They don't seem to do that.
You don't know. Listen, let's be honest. You don't know what was said. I wasn't in this meeting with the family, but I suspect they said, hey, Joe, honey, Dad, what do you want to do here? I mean, it doesn't look too great. And I think he responded, I'm not going to let that son of a bitch become president.
Oh, by the way, I believe the back half.
I got.
Stan,
I will stay in, and that's what he's going to do.
Stan, I do believe that he made a response like that about President Trump. I clearly believe that. I don't believe necessarily, and the reason I say that is there are so many different media reports and those who are close to the Biden family making reports that he is saying, should I stay in? Should I not stay? He's panicking. And there are reports that Jill Biden has been one of the biggest or the biggest to push him to stay in the race. She seems to be enjoying the White House, seems to think he can pull it out, wants to cling on to power. And I say that's disgraceful because, quite frankly, if what we saw at the debate, which we all saw with our own two eyes, Stan, clearly is bad, you can bet she's probably seen even a lot worse behind closed doors. And yet, according to reports, and I haven't talked to her, Stan, but I can tell you, according to reports, many of them, she's the one pushing for him to stay in the race. Maybe that's elder abuse. That's what a lot of people think. That's elder abuse, Stan.
Economists warn that massive tax hikes could devastate your IRA and 401k as the stock market braces for impact. I'm Larry Kudlow, and I urge you to fortify your savings with physical gold with my friends at Priority Gold. To learn how gold and silver can help diversify your savings, please call 1-800-405-GOLD or just visit PriorityGold.com to get a free gold information guide. That's 1-800-405-GOLD.